Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my entire breast reduction experience from beginning to end. I'm going to spill the tea about how I got this entire procedure done for literally free. Didn't spend a single dollar. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So the first question I wanted to address was why. Simply, why did I want to go and get my breasts reduced? There's two reasons why I got my breasts reduced, and I'm going to go into more detail about them, but to summarize them, it's confidence issues and back pains. The first main reason is because of confidence, and before I go ahead and talk about this, I just want to say that these experiences are completely my own and I'm not trying to offend anyone at all. These are just things that I've struggled with in my life throughout the years, and it's just something that I really wanted to take back control of. I am like any other girl on this earth, struggling with body image issues and, you know, not always being the happiest with it, comparing myself to other girls. It's a vicious cycle, it's reality, and I really hated feeling like that all the time. I started basically having boobs like in 3rd grade, and at that age it didn't really bother me that much, except for the fact that I was starting to get attention from it. Again, I was a kid, I was innocent, I didn't think much about it. It didn't bother me until I got like up until middle school or high school. People would just be really critical of the fact that I was short and that I had big boobs, and again, super out of my control. First and foremost, my boobs look the way they look because of genetics, as does every single other person on this planet, but it actually made me like really self-conscious about how I looked and how I portrayed myself. I remember specifically in middle school there was this girl I knew who basically told one of my friends, blah blah, but her boobs are big though. It's like the but her boobs are big though. I mean, it didn't change who I was inside. It was just a physical characteristic that seemed to be a topic of conversation for some people. So that was kind of like the beginning of like, okay, well, maybe having big boobs isn't that fun. And then you get a shift to like high school all the way to like maybe the beginning of college where small boobs are in, and you know, it's like this whole revolution of small boobs matter, which in my opinion all boobs matter, but it was small boobs matter, and I know it was a whole movement to break the stigma that only big boobs are important. But then I started feeling more self-conscious, like, okay, well, small boobs are in, I have huge boobs that I can't do anything about it. So this obviously led to a lot of body image issues. I was really insecure to wear anything that kind of showed my chest. Like right now, this is like very minimal cleavage, right? I would never be able to do something like that before. There are many times where I actually didn't do something that I wanted to do, like go out or be a part of something, just because I knew that I wouldn't be confident in the way it looked, and I just like kind of recoiled in myself. And it's like sad to think about my younger self. I don't know why I'm joking. I don't know, it kind of makes me emotional. I don't feel like I ever get emotional about talking about my boobs, but kind of makes me sad when I think about how sad I was because of them. Wow. I don't want to be dramatic. I am so sorry that happened, but it just kind of breaks my heart that that's how I used to think and that's how I used to be. And it breaks my heart even more to know that there's a lot of young girls out in the world who feel that way because people are judgmental and critical, and it just sucks. So that pretty much sums up what I was going through in terms of my confidence, especially in regards to my boobs. And I don't want this whole discussion to be something where it's like, well, if you're unhappy with something about your body, change it, because I think it's really important to also acknowledge your flaws and to embrace them and to love them, because that's what actually makes us unique. And at the end of the day, I don't regret any decision I made with my breast reduction. Just in this specific situation, it was more than just a confidence thing, which leads to my second point, which are back pains. As mentioned earlier, I am 4'11", so I'm really short. My boobs at the time that I got my breast reduction were at a triple D. As you can imagine, small frame, carrying a lot of weight, and that actually caused a lot of back pains growing up. I think in like 4th or 5th grade was when I first went to a chiropractor because my back was hurting so much, and it was a pretty consistent ongoing thing for years up until just a few months ago. Fun fact, Andrew used to have to stand on my back, and Andrew's significantly taller than me, but like any cracks in my back would alleviate any pain that I was feeling, and I know that that's not necessarily good for you, but that's what I had to do to get through it. It was just like the biggest pain in my freaking ass. So the reason I actually had a lot of back pains was because of my specific boob type. And before I got my surgery, my surgeon actually told me that my boob type was like a low drop, I think is what it's called, is when the boobs are naturally a lot heavier and it causes it to pull from up here on your chest downwards. Eventually, like, your boobs would be facing down. That's what actually accentuated the pain a lot more, making it very intolerable. All right, moving on to the fun stuff, the how. How exactly did I get my breast reduction for free? Literally, I didn't spend a single dollar, you guys. I was curious to whether or not insurance covered it. I know a lot of times breast surgeries are considered cosmetic. So I did some research online, and a lot of the articles and the forums I read had people explaining their experiences. Insurance did cover a lot of people's surgeries if it had to do with medical problems, but the issue was that going through insurance took months for it to get approved, apparently. I went to my doctor's for a physical before I left to study abroad for like 5 to 6 months. And while I was there, I went ahead and just asked them really briefly if, you know, insurance would cover me if I wanted a breast reduction. And they gave me a couple of surgeons' numbers. I called up the surgeons that same day, went to the consultations that same day, and found the surgeon that actually did the operation on me. If I'm gonna be honest, I didn't do any research about this surgeon's work prior to. I didn't really even know what kind of surgery would be done on me. I kind of just took it for what it was. I read up online that it took months to get approved for a surgery, but here I was sitting in this office getting told that if I wanted to have a surgery within the next 2 weeks, that I could have. I honestly just took that entire experience and didn't question it. I told myself that it was a gift from God, that I didn't have to stress about it, that it was gonna get covered 100%, which normally I think breast reductions cost between $7,000 to $15,000 depending on the state you're in, the surgeon you go to. But here I was. It was literally just getting handed to me, and I didn't have to work hard for it at all. I just had to ask my primary doctor if I was eligible, and there I was. I ended up scheduling for my surgery to happen for January 15th of 2020. And that essentially leads us to prepping for the surgery and the surgery itself. Prepping for the surgery, I was told to just go get a couple of bras with zippers. I was informed to get antibacterial bar soaps and just wash myself before the surgery, and no liquids and foods after midnight. Got to the hospital. The nurses were really informative about everything. I met my anesthesiologist. They gave me all the proper medicines. I actually had these numbing blocks up in my back and my spine. I think they were like about that big on each side of my spine, and that was supposed to alleviate any discomfort that I could potentially feel after the surgery. And next thing you know it, they rolled me into the operating room. The nurse that actually rolled me in looked at me, smiled, and said, "This is going to be the best day of your life. I can still remember when I had my breast reduction done when I was your age." And that was very reassuring for me, and I was just super stoked, and I was really drowsy from all the medicine they gave me. And at that point I was just like, well, shit, if I go, because I had never been put to sleep before, so I was a little bit anxious about it. And then next thing you know, I woke up. I was like bandaged up in the waiting room, and then Andrew came to pick me up and I drove home. And that was just the surgery process itself. So super duper simple. Before I get into the post-surgery stuff, I wanted to talk to you guys about the two types of incisions there are. The first one would be the anchor. So that's when they cut around the areola, cut a line down, and then cut 2 lines on the side. So it essentially looks like an anchor. And then there's the lollipop, which is really similar. You cut around the areola and the line down, but you don't have like the anchor cut. So I actually had the lollipop incision done on myself. It's important to note that if you're considering getting the surgery done, that your boobs will have scars on them for pretty much indefinitely. It definitely depends on your body type and if you scar easily or not, but these scars are pretty large on your breast. Personally, for myself, I didn't really care. If you are someone that gets bothered by scarring, I would highly recommend reconsidering your decision. Other than that, post-surgery for me was kind of a breeze. I got prescribed Percocets as pain medicine. For the first week, they recommended taking between 1 to 2 pills, but personally, I only took it for 3 days post-op, and it was 1 full pill, half a pill, and then half a pill. I didn't have any complications or soreness. The actual breasts themselves had a lot of discoloration and bruising, which was a bit scary to look at, but they looked a lot worse than they felt. By the 3rd day, I was literally going out with friends and pretty much back to normal, I would say. The hardest part about post-op is showering, just because you know that something has been done to your boobs, so you're really cautious around them, making the showering process really difficult, which I absolutely hated. Andrew's in the room. He can agree that he hated when I showered because I was being the biggest baby in the world. The one worst thing than showering was actually sleeping on my back, because I am a side sleeper, so sleeping on my back was awful. But I think within like a month I was able to start slowly laying on my side. Until this day, it's been almost 3 months since my surgery, and my boobs are still a little bit like sensitive, so when I lay on them it's a little bit uncomfortable, so I just have to kind of reposition myself to find exactly what suits me best. Other than that, I don't really want to downplay the experience because I know everyone has a different experience, but again, this was just my personal experience. I do know people who had rougher recoveries. Now let's talk about the sizing. My breasts before surgery were a triple D, and as of right now I think I'm like either a C, like a full C, or like a really small D. I can't tell just yet because swelling isn't supposed to completely go away yet until 3 to 4 months after. Some people even say 6 months after, so I actually haven't gotten measured because of everything going on. I can't even go to the mall to do that, but I do feel a lot better. My back hurts a lot less. I don't have Andrew stepping on my back each night anymore, and overall it's been a great experience. I don't regret a single thing about it. I'm actually just super happy and glad that it happened, because now I can wear things like this, show a little bit of cleavage. My boobs are perkier than ever, and it just makes me feel super great about myself. And if anyone is considering on getting a breast reduction and has the means to do so, or maybe even contacting insurance and seeing if that's something that they will cover, I would 10 out of 10 recommend it. If anyone else has any questions regarding my breast reduction, go ahead and just leave a comment down below, and I will make sure to either make a part 2 or just answer them in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Bye. Tits out. Tits out.